Hey, this is Joe, interviewing Miss Ann and Mr. Gerald Corgill about Thomasville. And so, what's y'all's full name?
My name is Ann Andrews Corgill.
And here's
And my name is Gerald Paul Corgill.
okay. And can y'all describe anything about your grandparents or remember anything about them?
I can remember my father's father. My grandmother died before I was born. Only lived to my dad's first birthday, so he didn't really know her either. But my granddad came to Thomasville in 1903, and he lived in East Alabama. He moved here from Lafayette and opened a hardware store. And the hardware store was where People's Corner is now. Okay? That was Andrews Hardware. And then across the street where Mark Gerald's business was that.
Edward Jones.
Edward
is today.
Jones is today, was Dozier Hardware. Okay, how in the world did we end up with Dozier Hardware? My grandfather was an Andrews, and he had cousins that were in the hardware business. Am I talking too much?
Oh no, you're good.
One was in Jackson, Alabama. One was in Citronelle. Where else? Chatham, Alabama. Okay, back in those days, everything came by train, by rail. And with that many hardware stores, things that my granddaddy ordered might not get to him. They took them on to Jackson or Chatham or Citronelle. But a little interesting story. My grandfather became interested in Mr. Dozier's daughter across the street. And
Mess you up every time.
anyway, long story short, they got married. He was Hampton Andrews. She was Clara Dozier. Okay, and I told you about everything coming by train. When they got married, the two stores merged. And because of the confusion, they kept the Dozier name. So all the Andrewses down the way could get their stuff, but they would always get theirs as Dozier. So in 1903, the combined business started.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just kept down a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So anyway, and it was always downtown. And I remember my daddy came back in the business after college. He was really a really good baseball player and had an opportunity to play professional ball. But he'd made a promise to my granddaddy that he would come back in the business, which he did. In 1965, I was in college, but my daddy decided that businesses downtown, he thought it would be better to move out on the highway and put the business out here. So where it is now was 1965. Everybody thought he was crazy. Even my granddaddy, he said, that's the biggest mistake you'll ever make, to move from downtown out to the highway, Highway 43. So it's been good. Gerald and I got married in 1966. I had a brother, and his name was Ham. He had no desire, no interest in the hardware business at all. We were perfectly happy in Birmingham. He was in real estate and property management and building. And things got real busy in Thomasville when Macmillan blew down. The mill came and, all these houses were going up and he needed some help. And he asked Gerald, he said, would you consider coming back and going in business? And he said, I will, to help you. So in 1971, we moved back to Thomasville. We were living in Birmingham at the time. Anyway, so that's Dozier Hardware.
He was the first business to move out on what we call back in those days in the 60s, it was referred to as the 4-lane.
Yeah.
And
the only thing out there.
He was the first business, and then right next door, there was a motor company, Hall Motor Service. Mr. Penn Hall put up his
hardware deals. Car dealership.
His car dealership out there, but they were the first two. But obviously, he had great vision to see what would eventually develop.
Too much information.
Oh no, you're good. Do y'all remember like any of your family traditions, like your favorite one, or if you had any?
Tradition?
Or like fun things y'all like to do together, or
All holidays.
Holidays.
We were always together. Yeah. Christmas was wonderful. I can remember 4th of July. There was always a golf tournament and barbecue. And the men would play golf and we'd go swimming out at the swimming pool. And now it's not there anymore.
Well, it was so, now it's so much to do, as you know, and easy to travel or go to Mobile or go to Nashville or wherever, but in that time, even when we lived in Birmingham in the late 60s, we looked forward to the 4th of July. We'd come home, you know, and I looked forward to playing golf. It was just a one-day tournament, and they'd have the American Legion barbecue, and they'd have WJDB
Which
out
they still have.
WJDB would have a remote broadcast.
Have these old country songs.
They'd have a country band. They'd be playing all over the place, and it was just a great time. Then when the golfers sort of got more sophisticated, or they thought they were, the bands would interfere. They would mess up their mind. You know,
They couldn't concentrate.
They couldn't concentrate, so they did away with it. They quit
With the music.
They did away with the music, but it was just great fun.
Let's see. What's a moment about Thomasville you'll never forget?
Pardon?
A moment about Thomasville you'll never forget, like.
You're talking about, you would refer to something good, right?
Or bad, anything.
I guess something I would never forget, and you don't even like to mention it, but I had two good friends. They were killed on a little motor scooter.
Oh.
And one of them that I played with on a fairly regular basis, and they were going to Pee Wee football practice and had an accident, and it just changed this whole community.
It did.
There wasn't a motor scooter or motorcycle in this area for years. Nobody owned one. You might not want to include that, but that's just something you think I don't guess I won't ever forget that. I guess it was the age that I was and the age they were, and but that was a real tragic happening that I wouldn't ever forget. A lot of good things that I remember.
What good?
Well, growing up here, it was just a good time. It was, you could get in a disagreement or have an argument with somebody, get in a fist fight and fight it out, and
Oh, hard.
the next day you'd be friends again.
Are you talking about classmates?
Classmates, you know. It wasn't any, we didn't have a clique or anything. You'd come to town, if you ran into a friend, you got with him, and you find somebody else, and you just associated with whoever you happened to run into. Didn't have to be anybody
Saturday
special.
afternoons were always, and you'll laugh, my children laugh at me when I say, we always went to the picture show. The movies, the same one that's now closed. And there was People's Drugstore, and you go to People's Drugstore, and you would get a cherry Coke, and you'd walk down, that was a nickel, and you'd walk down to the picture show, and there were always westerns. You had to see 2 or 3, and previews of coming attractions, but you could go to the movie, have that cherry Coke and popcorn for 25 cents.
And you could hold hands with your girlfriend or boyfriend.
Well, but that's something everybody used to do on Saturday afternoon.
That's the truth.
You sure did.
Couldn't go on Sunday, and we were
Oh, no.
we were forbidden to go on Sunday. You went to church and all. You didn't
Yeah.
go. You did not go to movies on Sunday.
No, you did not. And I was never allowed to go on Saturday night. I was only allowed to go on Saturday afternoon.
Oh.
Because rough people went on Saturday
I
night.
didn't go very much at all, really.
Anyway, that's one thing.
Do you remember like the fashion style then? Like, did you have long hair, long skirts?
Oh, we had hair this big, the 60s.
No, it wasn't that big.
Pretty big. Pretty big hair.
Had
Short skirts.
boys would wear blue jeans, and you
Roll 'em up.
roll them up, have about a 4-inch cuff at the bottom.
Yeah.
You wear white socks and white books. They call them white shoes.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
that was standard attire.
That's all I remember.
What was the place you went to go meet people? Like, was it like the salon, or was it a restaurant, or a particular place?
I like when we were teenagers. It was the Dairy Queen.
You don't ignore that.
And it's being recorded.
It's okay.
We don't answer toll-free calls. There was, let's see where Merchants Bank is. It was the Dairy Queen. And everybody met at the Dairy Queen.
In the summer, it was a swimming pool.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. The swimming pool. Yeah.
Like, what was school like then? Like,
I loved school. The teachers all loved us, and we knew them, and they cared about us, and we knew we better behave, because if we didn't, they would let Mom and Daddy know, and Mom and Daddy would take care of it. We had a great school. I loved all my teachers. How about you?
oh, I did too. It was
It was
I
right
guess it
here
was a
where the
small-
Civic Center is.
you know, it was small, and you basically everybody knew, like, just riding around in town. You knew everybody's vehicle, what kind of car, and we waved at everybody. You know, you passed because you knew them. Now, like now, the cars are so much alike, you don't recognize, you can't distinguish a person or a family by the automobile, but you could back then.
the schools, like, were they still segregated then? Like, still separate? Like, from...
They were for us.
Yeah.
Yes, they were. A.L. Martin was the school, the black school.
like, what were some people that everybody knew? Not, like, maybe because they're a loud mouth, maybe because they always help somebody out, or everybody knew them.
We had some town characters.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Several
We had a
characters.
man named Mally Jackson, and he was a little. He stood at the railroad track and directed traffic. Every time the train came, he would let you know, he'd let you go across. And if he didn't think you could go, you didn't cross it.
And if you didn't do what he said, he'd let you know that too.
Yeah.
In no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
But everybody liked him, and it was, everybody knew him, and it was just like Dan said, we had several characters.
There's a black man called Switching Sam. And he was dark black, and he wore white clothes, and he switched all over town. And he was just real friendly to everybody, and he was known as Switching Sam. Do you remember that?
I remember it well.
Okay, who else?
There's another one, Willie Jones, he was another black man that worked around, and he was he was a little handicapped, and
Who was the fella that Coach Anderson scared?
I'll tell about that in a minute, but Willie worked for Mr. Bird Goodman, who owned the Delmar restaurant, which it was the building still stands, but
It was a
I
wonderful
loved the
seafood.
Delmar.
it was a
Seafood
It was
restaurant
great
one of the
and
finest
replaced it.
restaurants in the state, really.
when it first opened.
But Willie worked for Mr. Goodman, and he was sort of in a tight situation one morning, and Mr. Goodman sort of talked ugly to him because he wasn't doing whatever, and talked real ugly to him. So later in the day, Mr. Goodman went to Willie and apologized. He said, "Willie, I shouldn't have talked to you like that." He said, "That wasn't your fault." And he said, "Oh, think nothing of it, Mr. Goodman." Said, "I just consider the source." But he passed one morning. Willie was working behind the hardware store, and I was out back, and I heard him. He said, "Hello there, big old hardware."
Oh, the other one was named Bo Jazz. Tell him about Bo Jazz, Gerald.
Well, he could drive, but he had a handicap, and his head moved like this all the time. And Coach Anderson, who is Mr. Charlie Anderson's father, I know you've heard of Coach Anderson. He coached
the
all
coach,
of us, and just highly respected. But out where the cemetery, Choctaw Corner Cemetery is, at that time it was not a paved road. It was just a sandy road. And Bojaz walked to work along that area by the cemetery. And he was a little anxious about going by that cemetery anyway. And so Coach Anderson...
He didn't want to go by there at night.
At night, and Coach picked out a time, and he got him a sheet. There wasn't much traffic, every now and then a car would come by, but Coach got out there in what we would refer to as a sand bed. It was just a sandy area of the road. And Coach lay down and put that sheet, just had a sheet, and he laid the sheet over it, over himself. And he heard Bojaz coming, and just before he got to him, he just stood up under that sheet like a ghost. And Bojaz went, and he couldn't get it in gear. He just fainted.
Scared him to death. We've told enough tales.
I know what they'll think we were crazy, lost our minds.
We're talking to the
But
old folks.
those are characters, that, I'm sure there's people around now, but not exactly like that everybody knew, and they knew everybody.
Do y'all know how many generations Dozier Hardware's been in the family?
We're in the fourth generation now.
And what was did y'all have a favorite restaurant to go to? I know there wasn't many, but a favorite one.
The Delmar in the day was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the old Alabama Grill that was fun.
That was sort of the place to go. That original, I guess, Alabama Grill sat about where Walgreens is now. But that was just so the
Always
the gathering
Ezel's
place.
was here, wasn't it?
Ezel's
Yeah.
was over at Lavaca, yeah.
Oh, in Thomasville, though.
And Thomasville, the Delmar was really the sort of the bell cow for the restaurants.
Do y'all like remember like the pizza place, the new pizza place when it all came in? And I forgot what it cost. Pizza something.
Pizza Peddler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good friends of ours did that, the Hodges.
That was a very good pizza place.
It was small,
small.
but it had the best pizza. Yes. Then we had a Pizza Inn, and when Thaler.
Pizza Out.
No, not that Pizza Inn. What was that other one called? In the old shopping center.
I can remember Gaines Adams announcing the football games, and he'd say for Pizza Out, it's Pizza Inn, but that's the only one I remember.
Gerald. No, where Thaler used to go every Tuesday night. They'd all meet down there. I can't think of it.
Can't think of it right now.
Okay.
Good. Is there anything that you'd like to share, like just anything in general about Thomasville or about you or anything extra?
It's been a wonderful place growing up, and Thomasville has been good to us and our business. We've said that often.
Yeah.
And we're thankful.
We've enjoyed living here. Obviously, we both lived here and went off and
Came back.
And came back, but it's a good place to raise a family. You know, you don't have all the things that you have in a large city, but a lot of those things you don't want or don't need. But
I've heard fellas say, Mama, if we lived in a city, we would be flat broke. I said, what do you mean? She said, oh, you want to spend, you want to do so many things so you can save your money.
That's really it.
at good churches, good schools, we've always prided ourselves on having a good school system. And
churches have been center of our lives always.
Speaking of the church, do y'all remember any of that burning down? Or
No,
that was before I
before. Yeah.
couldn't remember what time that was.
I was born in 44 and it happened. I don't know when it happened. I don't know. I don't think the streets were paved, were they?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. Do you remember? I don't know.
Oh, that's good. That's really it. Thank y'all.
Well, thank you. I hope that's what you need. Feel free to